When we're putting something secret in our game, we need to ask ourselves, how secret do we want it to be? Do we want everyone to be able to figure this out? Do we want it to be something that goes unfound for decades? Both of these things occur in video games. And when you're putting something in, it's worthwhile to think about how secret you actually want it to be. If you're putting a puzzle on your critical path, you need players to be able to get by that puzzle. And as a result, puzzles on the critical path usually end up being fairly simple, or the solution is just around the corner, painted on the wall nearby. On the other hand, if you have a puzzle off the critical path, you may want it to be a greater challenge. So you might introduce the mechanic of how the puzzle works, but not provide any hints beyond the introduction to the mechanic elsewhere in the game. But there's still content locked behind that puzzle, probably. Like it's a door you're opening to get into a secret dungeon or something. So you want some percentage of your players to get past it, to be able to figure it out. You want your secret to make sense in retrospect once they have figured it out. Old adventure games often have what is called moon logic, which means that the puzzle doesn't make sense to anyone other than the person who created it. At the very least, you want it to at least hold together in retrospect. The thing to also remember is in this day and age, the internet is a thing. So puzzles that are obvious to some of your players, to a certain degree, are obvious to any player who is willing to look on the internet. Something that some games do is they make the solutions to their puzzle change randomly. While you may be able to understand the mechanic, you may not be able to automatically know the specific solution to your instance of the puzzle. But as we move further afield into things like Easter eggs, into things that are hidden in the periphery, our requirement for the player to see it starts to go away. It's not on the crit path. We don't need every player to get past it. It's not even a puzzle locking up some other content. So we don't even need some of our players to get past it. We can just kind of hide things out in the edges. If you are not leading a game, if you are someone who's putting secrets in a game off book, be careful, because there is a danger that if you put in a secret that involves certain kinds of content, that you might inadvertently do something that triggers a change to the age rating, because you write a swear word in your E for Everyone game behind a tapestry that can be moved, or you have a naked model in a bathroom somewhere that can be glimpsed through a keyhole. Or you could trigger copyright because you put a picture of something that the company you work for doesn't have the copyright for somewhere. So be careful. But if you are putting these secrets in and they're out in the edges, and you don't need the players to necessarily figure them out right away or possibly ever, then arguably those secrets are kind of for you more than they are for the player. And then you need to just sort of decide what the lifespan of that secret is going to be. One thing to remember is that if you are a AAA game, a lot of people are going to play this game. And there is a certain amount of brute force that can be applied to things when a million people wander by something. So if you're putting a little silly secret into your game and your hope is that it goes unnoticed for years or forever, be careful, because it's possible that the community might figure it out on the very first day as 2 or 3 million people wander by that cryptic you put behind the pillar on level 3. So have you figured it out yet? As I've been talking, there have been a bunch of tweets from my Twitter feed going past, and we've gone through 34 of them. I'm going to give you a little bit of context. Each of these tweets is the first tweet that I tweeted on the first of each month for 34 months. To go through our little checklist here, I was worried that the community would figure out what I was doing too quickly. As a result, I probably over-obfuscated the information that was contained in these tweets. Do you see it now? More context. The thing that this was hinting at ended up not happening exactly as it was expected. It did happen, but it happened in a slightly different way. So as a result, it's probably just as well that this didn't get figured out, because it would have been a secret leading to nothing, which is something that you have to be careful about doing. The community that was following me on Twitter during this time was around 90,000 people. But these were 90,000 really dedicated to find out things people. So my expectation was that they were going to pull this apart relatively quickly. But what I would say is that I guess it goes to show that context matters. These were tweets in amongst a barrage of tweets, both from myself, but also from Twitter in general. So in retrospect, I think what happened is that these tweets essentially got lost in the noise. People didn't notice what was happening in these tweets because it wasn't obvious enough the context in which they were coming out. And to provide that context probably would have unraveled the entire secret in the first place. So when we're putting secrets in our games, on our Twitter feeds, whatever we're doing, think about the audience that's consuming it. Think about how large that audience is. Think about the context that that secret is living in. Is it getting drowned out by a bunch of red herrings scattered around that secret? And think about if you even want people to figure that secret out. Special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link to that down in the description. We also have a Patreon if you are more comfortable supporting the channel in that way. And we have merch. This is the High Tea on the High Seas hoodie. That will be tagged in the video if you want to pick something up. You might still have time to get stuff for Christmas. I'm not sure. Did you figure out what in the world this represented? I'm not going to tell you, at least not now. What are some things that you figured out in a video game that you were playing that were a nice little surprise, or a silly little joke, or something that was hidden from most people that you uncovered? What was a secret that you were supposed to figure out in a video game that just stopped you in your tracks and didn't let you finish the game? Let's talk about this down in the comments. I will see you again soon. Thank you.